The alarms were not loud, for the Zerati believed noise to be a vulgarity. Instead, a pervasive, gentle violet light pulsed through the organic corridors of the living ship. Whisper of dawn. To the crew, a symphony of delicate amphibious humanoids with large, dark eyes. It was a clarion call of terror. Their queen, a being of immense psychic grace, currently held in a regenerative coma after a mining collapse, was fading. Her synaptic patterns were scattering like embers in a wind. The ship's diagnostic tendrils had tried everything, but the trauma was too profound. The biology too unique. The first singer, the highest-ranking crew member, watched the readouts on a shimmering membrane. His voice, a soft warble, addressed the communication orb. "This is the Zerati vessel Whisper of Dawn. We broadcast a plea for any vessel with advanced medical or neurological expertise. Our sovereign is critically wounded. Her consciousness decays. We require assistance." For days, only the silence of the void answered. The Zerati despaired. They were a peaceful species, their technology grown, not built, their history free of major conflict. They had no warships, no soldiers, only healers and singers and growers. Then, a crackle of stark, digital signals shattered their quiet frequency. A voice, firm and clean, filled the chamber. "Zerati vessel Whisper of Dawn, this is Terran command. We read your distress. Transmitting approach vectors. Hold position. Help is coming." Relief flooded the ship. The Terrans. They were a young species, but known for remarkable, if sometimes baffling, ingenuity. Perhaps their medical science had a solution. When the Terran vessel arrived, it was a blocky, angular thing of polished metal and blunt edges. A stark contrast to the flowing, bioluminescent form of the Zerati ship. It docked with a definitive thunk. The airlock opened, and the first singer prepared words of profound gratitude. They died in his throat. Out came the help. Not doctors in clean suits. Not gentle neural specialists. The first was immense. A human encased in a powered exoskeleton of reinforced plasteel. The suit's hydraulic limbs whined with contained power, each step a heavy clang on the organic deck. The helmeted face scanned the room with a cold, blue optical sensor. The second was slimmer, clad in a dark, non-reflective suit, her face obscured by a tactical visor. An array of slender tools and probes were affixed to her hips, and her movements were precise, fluid, like a surgeon's. But slung across her back was a long, streamlined device with a barrel that hummed faintly. The third and fourth moved together. One carried a large, rectangular shield of dense alloy, his body language suggesting an immovable object. The last held a compact, multi-nozzled unit whose purpose was not immediately clear, his eyes constantly tracking the environment. The first singer finally managed to speak, his warble high with confusion. We greet you, but where are the medical personnel?" The lead human in the large exoskeleton spoke, his voice amplified but calm. "We are the medical personnel. Specialist Team Kappa. I am lead. This is scan, shield, and containment. Time is critical. Take us to your queen." Bewildered, the Zerati led them through the softly glowing halls to the sanctum. The queen rested in a nutrient pool, her form connected to countless neural filaments. The gentle light around her was flickering, growing dim. A visual representation of her psychic network, displayed on the wall membrane, showed bright pathways corroding into black static. Scan. The human with the visor stepped forward. She did not approach the pool. Instead, she raised a device from her belt. A lattice of red light fanned out, passing over the queen and the network of organic systems around her. Data scrolled across her visor. "Confirmation," she stated, her voice cool. "Critical psychic fragmentation. The core consciousness is retreating into inaccessible substrata. Standard revival protocols have failed due to unique Zerati neuroplasticity. The collapse triggered a cascading synaptic collapse. The first singer felt a chill. You understand. Can you stop it? Lead turned his helmeted head. We can. But the injury is not just physical. It is a crisis of will. Her mind is shattered and cannot reassemble itself. We must go in and hold the line. Go in? Hold the line? I do not understand. Scan answered, tapping the side of her visor. We will project a stabilized neuroconnective field, keyed to our own neural patterns. We will enter the Queen's psychic landscape. The collapsing synapses will manifest as hostile phenomena. We will secure the core consciousness and escort it back to coherence. It was a concept so alien, so violent in its metaphor, that the Zerati crew could only stare. These were not healers administering a serum. They were talking about an insertion, a mission. Without waiting for permission, the humans moved. Scan attached small emitters around the sanctum. Shield planted his massive shield into the deck, creating a solid anchor point. Containment began priming his multi-nozzled unit. Lead simply stood before the Queen, his heavy arms at his sides. Field activation in 3, Scan said. 2, 1. A sound like a deep bell resonated through the sanctum, felt in the bones more than heard. The air shimmered. The Zerati watched, awestruck and horrified, as the 4 humans seemed to blur, their forms becoming faint, translucent. Then their bodies went rigid, still as statues in the physical world, not in the psychic landscape. They materialized on a crumbling plain. The sky was a fractured mirror, reflecting shards of the Queen's memories, beautiful Zerati cities, starfields, peaceful songs all breaking apart and falling into a dark abyss below. The ground underfoot was not soil, but crumbling neural pathways. In the distance, a brilliant, trembling light pulsed weakly, the core consciousness. Between them and it, the landscape was not empty. The cascading collapse had taken form. Jagged, amorphous shapes of pure negativity and pain swarmed. They were not creatures, but manifestations, waves of despair, spikes of agony, swirling storms of forgetting. They moved toward the faint light, eroding everything they touched. Lead surveyed the battlefield. Scan orientation. Scan's visor glowed here too. Direct path is compromised. Psychic feedback storms at coordinates 3 and 7. The core is succumbing. We need a perimeter. Understood. Shield, forward anchor. Containment, cover the flanks. We advance. Shield moved ahead, hefting his barrier. When a wave of crushing despair rolled toward them, he did not dodge. He planted his feet and met it. The shield glowed with a soft golden light. The wave shattered against it, dissipating into harmless mist. The shield was not a physical object here, but a manifestation of unwavering defense, of the absolute refusal to yield. Jagged spikes of agony shot from the ground. Containment moved, his nozzle unit emitting a focused spray of silver mist. Where it touched, the spikes were not destroyed, but contained, neutralized, their sharpness blunted into smooth, harmless stone. He was applying control, turning chaotic trauma into manageable, isolated incidents. They pushed forward. Storms of forgetting swirled, seeking to strip away purpose. Lead walked into them. His exoskeleton flared with light. He was an unmoving pillar, a fixed point. The storms could not dislodge his certainty, his mission. He was a declaration of resolve that amnesia could not touch. Scan was the guide. Her visor pierced the chaos, mapping safe pathways, identifying the weakest points in the hostile phenomena. Left, the pathway is fraying. She would call, and Shield would pivot, his barrier intercepting a crumbling section of ground before it could fall away. She provided the clarity, the intelligence in the fog of psychic war. they fought their way to the core. The light was a fragile, quailing sphere, dimming with each pulse. Around it, the most potent manifestations gathered a final, desperate nod of the Queen's own subconscious surrender. "Form up," Lead ordered, his voice a steady rumble in this mental space. The 4 humans took positions around the fading core. Shield locked his barrier before it. Containment created a ring of stabilizing mist. Scan linked her data to the core, reinforcing its identity with streams of coherent memory. Lead stood before them all, facing the onslaught. The negative forms converged. It was a final assault of everything that sought to end the Queen's existence. The humans did not attack the Queen's pain. They defended her from it. Shield's barrier rang with impacts, but did not crack. Containment's mist enveloped and pacified. Scan streams of data wove a net of reinforcing memory. And Lead, he simply stood. He absorbed the fury of the collapse, his will a dam against the flood. He did not strike back. He endured. He held. Slowly, impossibly, the assault began to weaken. The defended core, no longer being eroded, began to brighten. Its pulses grew stronger, more rhythmic. As it stabilized, the hostile manifestations, deprived of the fading consciousness that fueled them, began to dissolve. The fractured sky above started to mend, the pieces sliding back into place. The crumbling ground solidified into a smooth, firm plain. The beautiful memories stopped shattering and glowed whole once more. Scan checked her readouts. Core consciousness is coherent. Integrity at 80% and climbing. The way back is open. In the sanctum, the Zarati crew watched the trembling light around their queen steady and then swell. The flickering stopped. The gentle violet returned, deep and strong. On the membrane, the black static receded, chased away by brilliant, flowing light along the neural pathways. The humans gasped in unison, their rigid forms relaxing. The shimmering field collapsed. Lead took a heavy step back, his exoskeleton servos whining. The Queen's eyes, large and luminous, opened. She drew a deep, shuddering breath, then looked around. Her gaze settled on the 4 strange, armored figures standing before her. She did not speak with her voice, but a wave of profound gratitude, warmth, and sheer awe washed over every mind in the room. The first singer rushed to her side, then turned to the humans, his own emotions overwhelming him. You saved her. But you fought. In her mind, Lead reached up, unlocking his helmet with a hiss. His face was pale, damp with sweat, etched with fatigue, but his eyes were calm. He gave a small, tired smile. You asked for assistance for a unique neurological crisis. You needed specialists who could operate in a hostile, disintegrating psychic environment and perform an emergency stabilization of a fading consciousness. He gestured to his team, who were also removing headgear, revealing equally weary but composed faces. These are our planet's mightiest fighters. Their battlefield just happens to be wherever the problem is. He looked at the restored Queen, who offered a slow, graceful nod of her head, a gesture of deepest respect. Sometimes, the human lead said softly, holding the line is the best medicine there is. The Zarati understood then. The Terrans had not sent soldiers instead of doctors. They had sent a different kind of healer entirely. Their response was not one of violence, but one of supreme, unbreakable protection. And in that moment, the galaxy felt a little less vast and a little more safe.